Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar where we'll be discussing optimizing the e-commerce customer journey. I'll be your host for today. So my name's James and I'm the Partnerships Manager at Relevance. So I manage all of our agency and technology partnerships. I am joined by, so to meet the speakers, we'll go around in order here and they can do a little introduction to themselves. Just before I do that, you should see on the right-hand side of your screen that there's a chat window that you can pop some questions into. So at the end, we'll be going through all of those if we have time. So please do add them in to make this session as interactive as possible. So starting with Ricardus, over to you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. So my name is Rick, and I represent Mapp, and we're an insight-led customer experience platform. As you guys know, customer experience is key right now, and most brands define their challenges as lack of personalization, lack of segmentation, lack of automation. But in reality, you can't do any of those things without really understanding who the customer is. And effectively what Mapp does, we provide market automation for direct-to-consumer brands, e-commerce, retail brands, and we facilitate that through better customer insights as well to empower e-commerce managers, CRM managers, even campaign managers to really move away from gut feel-based decisions to insights-led decisions.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rick. And over to Sarah Jane.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jane and I work for the Antavo loyalty management platform. It is pretty much what it says on the tin. We are the loyalty platform that delivers a comprehensive program technology for retail, for travel, all industries really, and we can link up with other areas of MarTech and allow you guys to use that platform to send out to your customers and provide a loyalty scheme.
I'll mute. Yes, I was the first one to do it. Excellent. Hello. Thanks, James. Hello, I'm John. I'm head of partnerships with Feefo. Feefo is a e-commerce marketing platform. We help about 5,000 brands globally collect reviews, dig into insight and sentiment, and make actionable business decisions around that data that they're collecting. We've been going for about 10 years. We've got offices in the US and London, and famously our headquarters is next to a working dairy farm in Petersfield in Hampshire. So the next time you're buying Arla milk, think of Feefo because that's come from right next door. Thank you very much.
Excellent. My name is Jacques. I'm the CEO and the founder of Odicci. We are a platform to help you drive more conversions on your e-commerce website through interactive experiences, games, quizzes, advent calendars, and many more. We work with a lot of brands like Fatface, New Look, Charlotte Tilbury, Homebase, for example, just to name a few. And very happy to be here together with you to discuss, how to help you drive even more conversions, especially in this very busy time of the year. James, on mute.
Still on mute, James.
James, you're on mute.
Are we actually able to unmute him? Oh, yeah, he's done it.
There we go. Am I back?
Yes.
You're back, James.
Just for everyone that's not in the loop, I've got a bit of poverty spell. I've only got the one screen, so probably all of my panelists have got multiple screens. I've only got the one, so it's a little bit clunky. So just wanted to say again, thanks to everyone for doing the little introductions there. And what I was saying is we're going to move into the panel discussion piece now. And we've split it into three core topics. So the first one being the consideration phase. We'll then move into the decision phase, and then finally how you can build the loyalty and the advocacy with your customers. So to kick it off in the consideration phase, we'll be joined by Odicci and Mapp. Oh, and like I said at the beginning here on the right-hand side, please do ask as much questions as possible to keep it interactive. Brilliant. So over to you guys. So we're joined by Rick and Jax. So just to kick off with the questions then, with regards to Mapp, from what I could see, you guys certainly didn't hold back any punches about third-party data. What is the problem with targeting, for example, very specific search terms? So the one that I've been given here is craft beer lovers with a keen interest in miniature poodles and goldfish print tattoo sleeves within Greater London. Can you maybe educate us? What would be the issue with that?
Okay, maybe that example was a bit of an exaggeration. I think we all know that. It's no secret that we at Mapp, we always focused on first party and zero party data first. I do think that it's very, very hard to say that you're customer-centric, customer-focused when you are relying on this third-party data, because it does provide you with this kind of a false system understanding of who the customers are. And some of this data is just scary. I use this example for a reason, because as a MarTech vendor, we do get approached by third-party vendors, or we did in the past. And you look at some of these data lists and you wonder, how on earth did you get access to these, very kind of a precise customer segments? And for a fact that these customers haven't even opted into this, or they weren't aware that they opted into this. Ticking a box is not really kind of a given a concern. And the fact that brands are using them to identify customers, it doesn't really provide them a good understanding of who the brands are. And also, it's not a really great base to start delivering your customer experience strategies. And it helps you drive this new traffic, to your stores or to your websites, but it doesn't really help you nurture customers through the journeys. In terms of deciding how do you reward them, what really makes them tick. It's just this false system understanding. So I guess this is why I use this very surreal example to indicate where the third party data was going.
Yeah, an absolute tongue twister. So I appreciate you putting that in for me to try and read out. That was excellent. So one thing you obviously mentioned was with regards to targeting, and there being an opportunity for CRM marketers, e-commerce managers. I'm sure everyone would love to hear a little bit more if you could expand on that. So could you tell us more, please, Jan? Yeah,
for sure. So I think kind of in the future, I do believe that the CRM marketing managers, e-commerce managers, they will be in high demand within organizations, right? Because they're sitting on this very rich existing customer data set, which can provide significant insights into how customers behave and how they shop with individual brands. So I think that creates a major opportunity, which also means that we should rethink, what data is available to us and what kind of insights can we extract from this. Because if you get this right, it does create kind of this greater trust between the brand and the consumer. If you're only relying on zero-party data, first-party data, there's no surprise for consumers when you target them. The other exciting thing is that it does level the playing field for smaller brands as well as enterprises, because that means that the tool sets available to these brands are kind of the same, right? So whatever customer data you capture, this is data you can use for the insights. And when it comes to acquiring new customers, you're kind of relying on these kind of aggregated pools provided by Facebook and Google. So it does level the playing field significantly, whereas the larger brands, they could buy into these vast amounts of third-party data, right? That some smaller brands couldn't do in the past. And also, it will create more emphasis on really figuring out what does customer understanding really mean, right? So who are our customers? Because that's the only data set we have, right? So really start kind of extracting value from the data set. And overall, I think there'll be a greater kind of So yeah, I think it's exciting.
Brilliant. No, awesome. No, that sounds fantastic. And to hear also from Jax as well, we've got here just with regards to boosting engagement with data capture and gamification as well. Why would you sort of say the games and quizzes driving conversion so well?
No, thank you, James. I think that one of the things that really happening with a lot of people, it's this it's a bit like when you get a present, you have all this anticipation, this excitement, and I think games are really driving that excitement from a lot of people. And a lot of these obviously games, there's this competitive element as well. So you want to do better. You have a leaderboard. So you get this repetitive also visitors as are coming back to the website, and gradually also you are collecting some data. So we do a lot of these interactive games or interactive promotions or quizzes where we're going to collect interesting data. And we always say less is more. It's not about the big data, it's more about the data that you really need, the essential data. And that's why, you know, everything that we see a bit in lines of what Rick was just mentioning with, you know, first and zero-party data, which zero-party data is really all about the self-reported data, interests, preferences, and intents. It's a bit of a new terminology, so some people may have not heard about it. It's something that was introduced by Forrester in 2018. So it's really something that is coming up, especially because third-party cookie data is going to be, you know, turned off. Already Safari has done it, and Firefox have done it, and now, you know, soon Google will be doing it as well. So we have to rely on different types of data, different types of environments where we collect the data. And this is where the games, the quizzes are so powerful, because we're creating that engagement, that fear of missing out. And also very much in those environments, when you collect data, it's about a value exchange. And so what we create with these games and with these quizzes, we create this value exchange, and we give something back. So it can be the experience, the fun, and the engagement, but it can be also very much the little voucher or the little promotion aspect that you could get, that is going to be triggering people to engage, to leave a little bit of data so that you can re-engage afterwards and be a lot more relevant in your conversations with them afterwards.
Yeah, no, brilliant. That all makes perfect sense. And it might be good to understand a little bit more with regards to the data that you typically collect, because you said you're not looking at the big data, more of the quality over it. So typically speaking, what data do you collect from website visitors?
Thank you. I think from everyone, it's really, you know, the most important one is the email address, of course. That's the key. But then we work with our partners really to think about, okay, what else do you really need? So in the case of for example, a new look, it would be very much the color, it would be the size, you know, and the style. So these would be like the most important elements, and of course the gender as well. So these would be the elements that we would try to really understand very early on, so that we can just target these experiences very well. Of course, afterwards, there are different levels of priorities in that type of data set, but it's very much like it's these essential data. And typically with YouLook, for example, we're looking now at postcode, of course, because, you know, you want to target this together with the stores, so you want to be even more relevant on a local basis as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And the sort of final question I had for you, thinking about the pool of clients that you work with, what would you say are some of the most popular or interactive experiences that your customers are using?
I think, to be honest, that the Wheel of Fortune has been very, very popular, and I think everyone has at least seen a Wheel of Fortune somewhere on a website. So I think that's been a very popular one. But what's coming up right now, it's something a bit more subtle, a bit more interactive, a bit more of a value exchange in terms of not only driving the voucher or the promotion, because it's not always possible, especially in the high-end brands, but more also to educate and to assist people on the website. So we do interactive quizzes directly in e-commerce, whereby we are assisting people to find the right product with a few questions, a gift finder, a product finder, or a personality quiz that's going to help you to drive them to the right place. I think that the second most popular one is probably the Advent calendar. I mean, this year is massive, the number of Advent calendars that we're setting up, and it's of course it's Christmas, so it's a very busy time. So everyone wants to get the maximum engagement. And the great thing about the calendar is that people can do 12 days, 24 days, but repetitive visitors are coming back to the website, and that's a great way of getting the conversions up.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that myself. I mean, you had me at Wheel of Fortune. I come from a long line of gamblers. I absolutely love it when I see it on the website. Even if I'm not going to purchase, I'm spinning that wheel to see what's happening. So it's a great way, isn't it? Thinking outside the box to engage with those customers, keep it interesting and keeping it fun, basically.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, that was the consideration phase there. I'd like to move into the next piece where I'm going to be joined with John from Feefo. So we're going to be discussing kind of reducing purchase anxiety and building trust with ratings and reviews. And then we're going to draw upon my experience, Fresh Relevance, with how we can help the shoppers find the right product recommendations and such as well. So yeah, if I could bring John in, make sure you're not on mute like I was.
I'm not on mute, James. I'm ready.
Oh, brilliant. It was quite funny, isn't it, you and I were speaking, because I've been at Fresh Relevance just over 2 months now, and before that I did a number of years at another reviews platform.
Those who shall not be named, James.
They shall not be named. Voldemort. So it was really funny that we did speak. So to jump straight into that, John, how important is it to build trust early on in, say, a new visitor's journey, and what would you say are the best ways to do that?
I mean, you're exactly right. We're all talking about the same thing, really, aren't we? We're all talking about how do we really gather and understand and interpret data from our customers, because it's our customers that are the ones, that are spending the money on our sites to buy those products that they've been after for the last couple of weeks. But with us, with reviews, we're kind of the beginning of that journey. We're enabling our merchants to actually gather that data, understand intent, purchase patterns, buyer behavior, sentiment, right? Really dig into that data. Like Jacques was mentioning, zero-party data. That's what we talk a lot about actually in Feefo. And with literally the explosion of e-commerce in the last year and a half, right? It's been insane. And I look at it as a little bit like the long tail, right? So there's infinite choice. Look at what Spotify did for music or YouTube did for video. E-commerce is doing exactly the same thing now, right? You have infinite choice. If you want to buy, I think my daughter got some plastic rat-shaped ears for Christmas. I don't know why, right? But we found 3 different websites that sold these things. I'd never heard of them. You can find anything from any site if you look hard enough. And all of us are trying to do the same thing. Nobody wants to go first, right? You find a new site, you haven't interacted with the brand before, you haven't bought from them before, you don't know what the purchase story is going to be, you don't know how easy it is, how fast is the shipping. So the first thing that about, I think 90% of people look for when they arrive on a new site is reviews data. It's more important than personal recommendations. It's delivering trust signals from the very start, right? So it's that whole, nobody wants to go first. Who's bought this? What was their experience? Did the rat ears fit? Did they break after being worn for a week? Who knows? She never wore them anyway, by the way. But all of those things feed into building trust, right? And just by engaging with your customers, asking questions about what did you think of the product? How was the service? Was the shipping good? Were you happy after you interacted with customer services? Just ask questions, understand them better. All of us have experienced when we were young, a corner shop we loved with there's the shopkeeper and his little dog. But you had a relationship because you knew them. They'd ask you questions. They'd let you know when they got in the latest copy of whatever specialist magazine you might be after. I'll let you make your own decisions on what that might be. And it's those relationships that help people engage with brands and come back and spend more money. And ultimately, especially in this partner ecosystem, we're all trying to do the same thing with data, and reviews is where that story starts ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And typically with the kind of consumers, do you find that they're just sort of seeking out the best rated companies on Feefo, or do you think they're sort of seeking authenticity over perfection? Is there anything kind of on that with the sort of the data?
I think what we do see is that nobody trusts perfection. Okay, so when you're on a brand and everything's 5 stars and everything's perfect, something's not right. Yeah, I smell a rat here. People do look for negative reviews. That's come out in a competitors report actually, which is a very good report, and that's super interesting because actually they're looking to see how did that brand respond and interact with that customer, right? And we've all seen bad reviews when they've been left. What they're looking for is how were they dealt with, what changed, what happened in that interaction to close the loop on the merchant side, right? And I think when people see that, okay, Susan had a problem with her shoes being delivered 3 days later when she paid for next day delivery, but you can quite clearly see that brand, hey, thank you for flagging this. We had a problem with Hermes or whatever. Here's a £10 voucher, or please get in touch with customer services and we'll make this right. That goes a long way. It really does. So I think embrace the occasional bad review, because ultimately it's helping you improve your business as you grow and develop. And that's a really important thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many brands out there battling for consumers' attention. They can almost be fatigued getting asked at different stages. What would you say that brands could do to kind of successfully engage with their customers? What are your strategies there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I mean, with Feefo, as with other vendors, but I know with us, you can do A/B testing on when you're asking for feedback, right? So depending on the purchase, if it's a subscription or a renewal, depending on the size of the purchase as well, you want to ask at different times for that feedback. You also want to think about, you know, like the rest of us, how do you personalize that request to make it as relevant to that customer as possible? Okay. So all of those things feed into trying to make sure that they respond as quickly and as best as possible. And the other thing that we do, and I believe it's different to all of the other review providers, is you can actually gather review data at different times in the customer journey. So typically with a lot of our competitors, it's one purchase, one feedback request. But we have a product that helps you manage it by campaigns, and you can ask at like quote stage, renewal stage at the same customer. So you can build up a map, you know, to really understand how have you delivered at all these different points in the service. But yeah, testing, personalization, timing, all of those things help to improve your response rate.
Brilliant. No, that's awesome. And the final point I just wanted to touch on, what do you reckon is the most effective way for engaging with customers? So to drill down on that question a little bit more, what do you reckon is the most effective kind of medium?
Well, I mean, typically, I think, you know, all of us are after that email address, right? So for us, it's the default is email, but we also use SMS, and we're seeing an explosion in SMS, especially with younger shoppers, because they respond far quicker to SMS requests than they do emails. But really, it's about, you know, the typical times that our merchants will engage with customers of theirs is post-purchase, is maybe after they've engaged in a live chat, right? And they can request feedback then, or even we'll allow them to request a survey, so they can pop up a short survey. And you can also, what else? Yeah, customer support to measure customer success performance. Yeah, I mean, but post-delivery is the classic one. And also with travel, who have, let's face it, have had a pretty stinking year. Yeah, I mean, it's just been awful. As they start to bounce back most recently, you know, it's after they've either landed at the hotel or wherever they're going, resort, and then again on their return. So there's different ways to cut it up. And what we'll do is all of our customer success managers will work with our merchants and understand what's the journey they're put in place now, and we'll make recommendations around when we think they should be contacting them and the best way to do it. But a lot of it is trial and error, right? Test, optimize, revise, continue.
No, that's fantastic. I really appreciate your time and insight on that, John. And we'll move into our final segment now, the panel discussion today, which is the loyalty and advocacy. Stick my teeth in for that one. So we'll be joined by Sarah Jane from Antavo and Rick again from Mapp. So hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. So I guess to kind of dive into it with you, Sarah Jane, as you weren't on mute, which is always a good sign. Looking at kind of incentivizing the customers as well with various loyalty programs and strategies. Why do loyalty programs play an important role in data capture?
Then play an absolutely massive part, because it allows our clients to really look at what it is that they need to then start to capture more data on, so that they can use that data, but also to be able to personalize the types of rewards or gamification. You know, again, just like everybody else, our clients' customers absolutely love prize wheels, scratch cards, event calendars, but also things like, you know, sharing images of what they look like in the products that they've purchased. So, you know, doing things like that where the customers can feel a bit more like an influencer. So, you know, grabbing that data and understanding more about who they are and what they like plays an absolutely massive part in that. And it, you know, again, it allows us to reward those customers with points or coupons, discounts on gifts, or, you know, things. And it doesn't always have to be things that are, I guess, what's the word? It doesn't have to be things that are monetary in the sense of, you know, here's some points, now buy a product from us. It could be things like gift wrapping. You know, if you're buying a present, get them to gift wrap it. It's free and you don't have to do it, and you don't have to purchase, you know, any wrapping paper and do it yourself. Or it could be that you really understand that your customers, from the data that you've captured, is that your customers are very environmentally friendly, or there's a certain charity that is really resonating with a lot of the customers that you have. And you can start to use points to give to charities instead of actually keeping it to use for, you know, yourself.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that makes absolutely perfect sense. And I guess as well, it probably makes the e-commerce buying process a little bit more exciting. I mean, how could you guys look into making that process maybe a little bit more vibrant, more exciting for people?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that gamification elements that we're really seeing is massive at the moment. And it's great for both sides, right? So the customers of our clients absolutely love it. It's fun, it's exciting. They're giving data, they don't mind giving data, and they kind of, you know, in the right way, they're forgetting that it's data that we're asking for. It's actually, you know, it's gone are the days where you're going, can you please tell me where you live and what age you are? You know, it's like, oh, this is boring. I don't want to fill in a questionnaire. Whereas when you do it through gamification, it's exciting and it's fun. And I think there's a stat to say that the global gamification market is projected to reach 40 billion by 2024. So it really is about us now looking at, you know, what can we do to really enhance that gamification for our clients so that they can get the best out of it from their customers and get more information. So whether it's badges and online challenges, things like sweepstakes and voting, you know, all of that is classed as gamification, and all of that is exciting for both sides of the business. So whether you're a customer or a client.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I guess to try and drill down a little bit into the ROI piece, how can we kind of ensure that loyalty programs boost more than just the customer retention?
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing it right and we've got the right mindset, because again, I think gone are the days when I used to work for a do we dare call them an ESP anymore because they do so much more, but essentially an email service provider I started with 10 years ago. And it was very much the communications that went out from customers, and the way that we were suggesting that they spoke was very much like, you give to me, you give to me. And it's not like that anymore. It's more about, what are you going to provide to your customers? What are you going to make them feel that they should come back? And so right from the beginning to the end, it needs to be a partnership between the customer and the business. You know, you need to be very transparent, and you need to be giving them something. So to be boosting those acquisition numbers, we need to be incentivizing for things like friend referrals or using social media to generate virality. I can't say the word, to go viral. That's the word, yes. And that's the kind of, you know, the kind of great things that we can do, and having those tiers that allow you to, you know, again, communicate with your customers. So if you're in that first tier, how do you then communicate in a positive way as a partner of those customers to then boost them into the next tier that they feel it's a benefit to them?
Awesome. No, that sounds That sounds brilliant. I really appreciate your insight there. And admittedly, when I kicked off this webinar, there was a little bit of panic because I couldn't actually see the countdown on when it will start. So probably everyone in this webinar saw me a little bit clunky. So I did admittedly ask Rick from Mapp some questions that were left for this segment as well, because Mapp's piece here was with regards to the value of first-party data in a cookieless world. So I started asking questions at the beginning that we should have held off for here. So apologies for that, Rick. But we sort of smoothed it out a little bit there. So to maybe go into that a little bit more, as we're on the sort of specific piece here with regards to advocacy, is there anything sort of further you can add about those sort of topics?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. So I guess when I was listening about Sarah Jane's kind of a conversation about the loyalty and kind of and rewarding customers, one of the big things that we think about at Mapp is what is a good time to engage a customer. If I leave any webinar attendees with kind of with one major takeaway, I would say I personally think that the biggest opportunity right now in marketing is to identify incremental uplifts in all the things that you're doing, because typically what happens in campaigns like abandoned basket or abandoned browse or even churn prevention campaigns, marketers do things like do an A/B test. Let's if someone hasn't engaged for 6 months, let's do an A/B test, and let's see, maybe do a loyalty coupon. Please come back, maybe a free delivery. See which one works best, and then that's the one we're going with, right? That's the reward we're going to give the customers. But actually, if you think about consumers, they shop in different patterns, right? For someone, they might be shopping every month, right? So once they haven't engaged for 3 months, you already lost them already. In other cases, consumers might be shopping with your brand every 7 months, and it's not a sign that they're disengaged. They might be spending their entire budget in your product category just with your brand alone, right? They're the most loyal customer as far as they're concerned. So we have to start thinking about loyalty in terms of in customer terms, like what does it matter to them? And the only way to do that is actually by analyzing, before we kind of extend those offers and promotions to customers, is analyzing, okay, so who is this customer? What is the previous interaction history? Not third-party data, but what is the actual relationship with the brand? Also, what is the basket size and what is the product value, right? If it's an abandoned basket program, let's say if the basket is 15 pounds versus 5,000 pounds or 500 pounds, well, there's no point sending an email maybe 4 hours later, because they might want to talk to their spouse about the holiday or about this major refrigerator purchase, right? So there's different elements to it. And I think once you really start kind of digging deeper into this synergies between the customer lifetime value, customer relationship, the products and the categories they're looking to purchase in, and then tailoring your programs for those individual use cases, you're going to start moving away from doing this average-based marketing, because that's all there is. If you're doing your abandoned basket based on A/B test or your churn prevention campaigns based on A/B test, you're basically optimizing your average marketing. And in order to start doing exceptional marketing, you have to start looking at these different niches.
Brilliant. No, that all makes sense. And I think as well, we've given consumers online the ability to be fussy now, because there's so many ways for their heads to be turned, and they all expect a certain journey when they are online, and there is these expectations for fantastic reviews, for the different loyalty pieces and the different journeys as well. So it's great to kind of keep them engaged, and it's almost thinking a little bit one step ahead, trying to herd cats almost, isn't it really? Which is brilliant.
And also, I'd add to that as well, James. With a lot of our customers, it's about where they're putting the reviews data. So it's not just on the product page; it's on the checkout page. We work with personalization partners like yourself at Fresh, so you can actually pull in relevant reviews data from products that you might be recommending and deliver those in your email marketing program. So there's lots of ways to extend the value, and we also have. We see a lot of our customers put those same review snippets into their paid ads. So there's a ton of different places you can use it throughout that whole journey, from engaging and bringing in new visitors to converting, reducing basket abandonment and all that other good stuff as well.
Brilliant. No, that all makes sense.
As a customer who is really loyal to Sweaty Betty, I get extremely excited when I see my review posted anywhere other than that on that particular product page. It's like I'm famous. I get really excited, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
You are not the only one, no. I am officially, not to brag, everybody, but I am a Google local guide level 7, which means I've left over 6,000 reviews. So yeah, not to brag. Mostly for pubs, but I mean, still, it all counts, right?
You're walking the walk and talking the talk, right?
Absolutely. I live by my reviews.
Oh no, that is brilliant. And from as far as I can tell, that probably concludes our panel discussion. So we could look to move into the final segment with regards to the Q&A. And I was there with my one faithful screen, still sharing the slides, and Laura's just messaged me on Slack on my mobile and said, "You're not sharing your slides anymore." So there I was panicking. I couldn't have access to the questions. So apologies everyone for that. But we've had some questions drop in. So please do, everyone, if you'd like to ask some more, do shoot them across into the right-hand side on the questions pane. But to jump into the first question that we've had, how do you see brand loyalty versus, say, program loyalty? Don't all jump at that one.
I started coughing right at the...
I waited for you to start coughing. And then
I mean, personally for me, I think, you've got brand loyalty and program loyalty, and you kind of need to have that brand loyalty first, in my personal opinion, because if you don't have that loyalty for the brand and you haven't done a good enough job to get that brand loyalty, what is the point in having a program loyalty? Because you're not going to use the benefits, you're not going to remember to go on. I mean, my phone, I have a loyalty scheme with my phone, and I forget to do it every single week, because to me, my phone's my phone. I use it to text and check Instagram and Snapchat and whatever else, but I'm loyal to it because I need it. But if it was Sweaty Betty, I'd probably be on there every day going, what's new? So for me personally, I think you've got to have that brand loyalty first, and then that program loyalty will definitely follow and be used to a huge amount.
Yeah, no, brilliant. That all makes sense. And there was another question that came in as well that was quite interesting. It's probably for you as well, Sarah Jane, with regards to if a brand is in another geographical location. So the question was, what do you recommend for a multinational brand? One loyalty program for all markets, or would you look at maybe localized adaptations?
I think it kind of depends, because, if you're looking at, say, the region, let's take the UK, for instance, it could very well be that when you look at the data that's being captured, actually everyone's got a very similar view or a very similar need for a loyalty program. If it's across countries, it could be very, very different. I mean, again, I used to work in marketing for a cruise line company years ago, and we tried to use the same imagery from our brochures, showing my age now, pieces of paper, and they were the American ones, and I'm not kidding you, there was the cheesiest front picture, and we put them in our travel agencies, and everybody would walk past them because it just didn't resonate. And I think it's about, again, looking at that data and really understanding your customers from different markets. And again, just as much as asking them for product reviews, ask them for loyalty program reviews, because it could be that you think you're doing a fantastic job, but actually there's other things that people really love. I mean, again, Vitality are my health insurance, and I love them because I get a free coffee every week. I mean, come on, it's £2.50, but I love it. And I'm like, oh, it's Thursday, I can go and get my coffee. So yeah, it's about really understanding the data, I feel, and then understanding the country and the different ways that country work, and what, generally is something that the people from that country will resonate with, but asking the customers as well, and you really using that data, drilling it down, and then tweaking your program to suit.
Definitely. No, that makes absolutely perfect sense. And there's been an interesting question here that might be for John, my once arch nemesis and now best friend. Anna Maria has said, if there is a well-known brand, do you think customers still want reviews on those individual products, or do you reckon
a good
brand
question.
trust is enough to sort of keep them going?
Yeah, I've been looking at the chat. There's loads in here. There's I think, reviews are a really emotive topic, aren't they? We talked a bit about this the other day, James. As a business owner or someone that you're selling something that you really love and care about, when someone doesn't like it, that you can take that quite personally, as we probably all would, right? But it's just about taking feedback. I think with both brands and with products, so we look at it as service and product reviews, right? Depending on what you're selling, how often you're selling it, if your stock's changing constantly, so you might just have a product in for a very limited run. In those instances, you're probably going to focus on brand, right? What's the overall brand experience? But really, if you're selling a lot of products that you're keeping for a decent period of time, we would recommend splitting those out, because as a brand, so like for Sarah Jane, yours is Sweaty Betty, right? But let's say you got a really terrible pair of gym socks, right? And you put your toe through them in the first week. Now, that's not going to stop you loving Sweaty Betty. You've just had a bad experience with the product. And that could be a new product for Sweaty Betty, right? I don't know how many times I'm going to say Sweaty Betty in the sentence, but I'll stop now. That shouldn't affect the brand, but it's worth being able to flag that with them and say, hey, I love you. This product, however, stinks. Please change it. And what you're also doing there is you're protecting your brand score. So it's not having an impact on the good work you're doing over here, but it's just flagging up that, hey, right now there's an issue with this product. But there are a lot of questions about reviews, I can see, and a lot of questions about Google local guide levels being bragged of, and someone agreeing that reviewing pubs is a valid pastime. So I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
And the thing is with that, it's just fantastic to get so many reviews in one day if you are visiting many pubs. So that's probably why you boosted up so high, John, so quick.
Yes. I try and review them when I'm in them, because otherwise I forget what they were like.
Brilliant. And we've had quite an interesting question here that probably a few of you could draw upon in kind of your experience here and your knowledge. And if a customer has had a business with 17,000 followers, so sort of past tense, the business took a break for a few years and they're now relaunching, do we think that customer data is still relevant, or do we suggest maybe restarting from, say, their initial audience, or starting again? What's everyone's sort of thoughts on that?
Well, I'll jump in on that one, because there's a couple of different ways to look at this. I think you're going to soon find out, right, when you contact them for the first time, how many unsubscribes you get and how many bounces and all the rest of it. If I spin that slightly, because this does happen quite a lot when a new customer joins Feefo and they don't want to start at zero. Okay. So how do we get around that? We allow them to contact, say, the last 6 months worth of historic customers to ask for a review, so that when they join us and go live, they're actually starting with a big pool of reviews data already. That might be a nice thing to do with those 17,000 followers. Find out how engaged they are straight away. Will they leave a review? But it really depends on what this person is selling. What's the service? What's the product? Is it memorable, or is it something you buy regularly and forget, 2 weeks later? But yeah, lots to dig into there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it can also depend on channel as well. So again, something like social media, I feel, is a lot more forgiving. You sort of start putting out some content, maybe, putting your toe in the water. People are a lot more forgiving on something like social media. When it comes to the old school, emails, it's a lot less forgiving. It's not just about customers maybe reporting, going, I unsubscribed from this years ago, or I haven't heard from them for years. But it's also about the actual reputation of your IPs. You can really affect that as well if you start blasting out really old email addresses that don't exist anymore. So I think it does depend on channel too.
And I think if I may add as well, I think it's maybe also an opportunity to do something fun and something engaging. So I think that, of course, to Sarah Jane's point, is to grow gradually, because you don't want to burn the reputation of your email provider. But I do think there's an opportunity to say, hey, we're back, or do something fun where you are going to engage the conversation, and you'll be surprised because a lot of people was like, well, what is this all about? There is this FOMO effect, maybe scratch to reveal the why are you back? Well, what's the new offer? Or shake your phone and suddenly something pops up and it's like, yes, we are here again, and we'd love to hear from you. So I think there's a great opportunity there as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think also there's probably very few opportunities to remind customers, what do you stand for? Because most brands are so much focused on promoting the products and whatnot. And I think that's a good opportunity to actually tell the story, because this immediate shock, if it is an email, this immediate shock of getting the message from you might be a bit kind of disappointing. But I think if you flip it as, thank you for being with us, we went through these things, right? So you're almost taking them back on your journey, and you're being kind of you emotionally connecting, explaining why this happened, and look at this new amazing thing that we're launching. So I think it would be an opportunity to turn those followers into proper advocates, because they're part of the journey.
Yeah, I think brand values are much more important these days than telling someone they've left a pair of jeans in their basket for 3 years, and are they ever going to check out? Okay. They probably wouldn't fit them anymore, right? You don't know what's happened during lockdown.
And there's been another question as well, just with regard from David, actually, just with regards to if a business is selling a product that they don't necessarily need to change. So the question here is, our brand will only see customers return every 7+ years due to the industry they're in. They're in beds and mattresses.
Yeah.
How would you work a loyalty program based around that, where customers will not come back for a few years at a time? So that is a difficult one.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with clients previously, and whilst insurance is generally a every year purchase, again, once you've purchased something like your car insurance, what do you then do? I worked with estate agents, once you've purchased your house, then what do you do with them? And it's about what are the other things you can talk about? Because, when you purchase a house, it's things like insurances and solicitors and things like that. But then also, just keeping them engaged a little bit to sort of say, these are the latest house prices, or this is the latest legislation. Something like, again, the car insurance, have you done your winter checks? Have you, your car's coming up for its MOT because you've told us the date of your MOT every year. And it's about kind of understanding what is it within that mattress business that you can maybe talk to them about, I mean, it's going to sound really gross, but, bed bugs or something, I don't know. You could have a bit of gamification where you're splatting the bed bugs or something, I don't know.
We've learned a lot about you today, Sarah Jane.
Oh, I know.
I would like to add.
Say, I'm like Monica Geller. I'm like uber clean. I like to scrub everything. It is about finding out what are those other things that you can talk to them about and keep them engaged until they're ready to buy again. And I think someone's mentioned about, memory pillows and things like that. So yeah, absolutely. What are those other products that you sell? And those reminders of, so many times, you do sit there and there's I think there's a date on your mattress, isn't there, of when you purchased it. But how often do people suddenly look and go, oh, that ran out 4 years ago?
Yeah. I would like to add to that, because I think, you have to think about what are you really selling, because you're not really selling mattresses, right? You're selling a good night's sleep, and you can connect to so many consumers on that. I love sleeping. In fact, I might have a nap straight after this, so but I think there's so much content that you can engage your consumers on about good sleep, right? And kind of an advocate in that, because that's really what you're selling. The product just happens to happen every 7 or 8 years, but you continuously selling good night's sleep. And what does that mean to people? So I think there's plenty of content that you could focus on.
Yeah. No, there's some great insight there. I thought that was going to be a really difficult question, so I was hoping everyone was going to start getting all
thanks for pulling it up then. Yeah, nice one.
Everyone shares some really, really, really great insight there, which is what we were hoping for, basically. And I think there's a kind of what I presume will be a fairly quick answer to Molly's question that she's popped in the chat window with regards to their business using an app which isn't their own for their loyalty scheme. And some people are slightly hesitant to use it as they don't have their own branded app, let's say. Does having a white label loyalty have a better effect than using an app already created?
Yeah, I mean, we do see our clients that use the white label loyalty apps, or you know, an app that has been specifically built for them. It does have a much bigger level of trust, and so it might just be that level of trust is just not there, because people are looking at it going, well, it looks like Sweaty Betty, but it also doesn't quite look like Sweaty Betty. And so, and again, it could be the case that, you know, not everybody can have, you know, the fancy white labeled, we've made this just for you app. And so it could be that you communicate through other means as to the fact that this is your app. You know, you've got imagery on there, on your other communications of what it looks like, and that's going to help to build that trust.
We have the exact opposite, actually, in the world of reviews, because it's, for us, the fact that it's from a different provider to the brand is a signal of impartiality, right? It's you know, this is a third party, they're independent, they're gathering the reviews and they're helping us understand customers. So for us, it's the complete flip of that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it might go that way, because thinking of the world of reviews, if you're collecting your own testimonials on site, that doesn't necessarily have a time and date stamp. It can be anyone or their nan leaving a review. Similarly with Facebook, a bit of an unpoliced state. Anybody can voice their opinion at any stage. You don't really know the kind of provenance of those reviews. So it's definitely an interesting one. And just on that, on reviews as well, I think you guys have been going back in the chat window, but it is quite an interesting question. So Anna Maria, going back to Rebecca's point in the chat, said with freebies, how do you stop customers feeling like they've been duped by good reviews? In the past, I felt that this way of purchasing something and then receiving an email that says leave a review and we'll give you a free XYZ, it can almost be that you've been, I guess, kind of incentivized in a way. I guess you probably don't say leave us a review for for a 5-star review and we'll give you a 10% voucher, but yeah, is there any ways maybe that, I guess it's the wording, isn't it, on that specific follow-up email that would be quite interesting, that would be really important?
Yeah, do you want to go first, Sarah Jane? Because I've got a very strong opinion on that.
You go ahead. I want to
go first. So for us, and actually, if you're you know, worth your salt in the reviews industry, you shouldn't be incentivizing reviews in any way, right? Because immediately it's worthless. We have a number of loyalty partners, and what they'll do is typically surface the opportunity to get a like 20% off or refer a friend or whatever. That will surface after the review process has been completely finished, regardless of what rating they left. Okay, so I think if you start to signal that, hey, I'm going to dangle this carrot for you if you leave us a good review, you're not going to get honest feedback from the customer. So sometimes it's better to surprise them and offer that as a little gift at the end of that process, rather than saying do this and we'll give you that.
And that's actually generally very similar to what we suggest as well. Because again, it's that trust thing, isn't it? Like you say, you know, if you're incentivizing me to do something, I kind of feel compelled to give you a better review.
Yeah.
So it's a slightly emotional blackmail. And so, yeah, in the background, we have, you know, the customer gets X amount of points that goes towards something once they've left a review. But again, it's not actually advertised as that. It's a surprise and delight type thing. You know, you've given us a review and here's some points. And quite a lot of the time as well, the way that we suggest to our customers or our clients that they do it is that if you have a points and a earn and burn type campaign, is that actually the points that you earn from things like refer a friend or reviews, again, because it's that kind of slightly emotional blackmail, we want you to be able to use it for something else, not to be able to put that towards a purchase of a product. So we try to kind of balance it out a little bit in that way as well.
No, brilliant. That will make sense. And I'm just kind of flicking through the chat pane here and the question pane. And as far as I can see, I think we've kind of covered everything for now. So we've got a few minutes left. So if anybody did want to post another question that we can kind of talk about, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, some really good questions. Actually, what's really good to see is people asking questions beyond that initial, how do I get stars on my website? Right, we're all way past that now. That's common, familiar ground. Now it's about, how do I leverage the data? How do I drive lifetime value of my customer? How do I reduce basket abandonment? And it's all, from providers like ourselves in this room are there to give those guys the tools to help them do that. So it's, it's good to see people aren't just saying, I'm only getting 3 stars, how do I get to 5? I mean, it's sell better products, right? That's probably a bit flippant, but
Strong opinions.
I'm going to go on mute.
Well, we might have to hear from you again, John, because we've got another question with a world of reviews as well from Andy. And he's found that previously when launching new products, having 0 or only a small number of reviews has had a negative impact on the product. And is there any tips in this area? Should you maybe hide reviews until you hit a minimum number of product? What have you sort of found from looking at the data?
Yeah, so it's especially with a new product. If there's, I saw there's a question came through customer support this morning actually, where a merchant of ours was trying to move the reviews data from one product to another because he'd stopped stocking the other one, but they're from the same brand, and he was like, that's okay, isn't it? It's not really, no. I mean, in those instances, that's where the brand and product piece comes in really handy, because surface the brand reviews where you have no product reviews, because at least you're reinforcing the fact that, hey, we're a genuine business, we've got really happy customers, and signal in the description, this is a new product, right? There's nothing wrong with that. This is a brand new product. And welcome reviews when they start to come in from those initial sales.
I think that's a really good strategy. And what I found as well through COVID, when there was delays on delivery and stocking of products, and if you're just honest and you're keeping your customers in the loop. So if there is a banner at the top of the page like, hey, look, we are experiencing some delays with the products, just to make you aware, if you keep them in the loop, it's just managing expectations. And I think it does sometimes get overlooked, and some businesses might not think about that, and then they can cause themselves some issues because they provided a negative experience. But they could have kind of resolved that by saying, hey, look, there is going to be a little bit of delay, or look, this is a brand new product, it's tried, it's tested, we've had some brilliant feedback, but please could you be the first? So it is interesting. I guess there's no one size fits all. It's all about kind of testing and
bring in either some gamification to help engage them, or some loyalty, some kind of loyalty scheme or offering because you're an early buyer of this product. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to do it, but everyone's got to start somewhere, right? And if you know the product's good and you believe in it and you're stocking it and you want to sell it, then it's your chance to generate some really good data around it.
Definitely. No, brilliant. And with kind of just a couple of minutes left until the end of this webinar, I think it would be quite a nice opportunity for me to just share my screen once again, hopefully. And then I'll do the best saying through the whole of this period, which is, can everyone see my screen? So what I wanted to just sort of show was our final piece here that I was trying to show earlier. We've put together a fantastic ebook with the partners that have been speaking to you today, plus a few others as well. And you can see the link here, freshrelevance.com/optimizing-the-journey. And it is well worth the read. It is very long, goes into lots of depth, and there is some fantastic insight there. And I just want to thank all of our speakers for their time this afternoon. It's been a really great attendance and some really interesting insight that's been shared this afternoon. If there's been any questions that we have missed, we'll try our best to kind of get back in touch with you. But just want to thank everyone again for their time. I wish everyone a fantastic rest of the week.
Thank you. Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.